Okay. It says we're live. I think we're live this time.
I don't see it on like my browser. I do you wanna ask the chat?
Yeah, it's I think it's just taking a second on the LinkedIn side. We'll give it a second, but it's showing live on YouTube, so we're good. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you to do that intro again for
That's okay.
for continuity purposes. It's crazy that you can hit record, but record and live are separate. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you do it live. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. My little
That's okay.
pre-intro, I think, is always about like your expertise here, and being really scrappy with not a lot of resources has always been something that I think is super valuable for early good market teams. Um, and again, something we were talking about a little bit before this was just like how overcomplicated the tech stack, people present it to be, and how it doesn't need to be that complicated. Obviously, we talk a lot about content and how effective great content can be to inform who you're engaging with from an outbound strategy. So yeah, would
Yeah.
love to hear a little bit about your background, and we can start there and then dive into the workflow.
Sure thing. Sounds perfect. Actually got a bunch of thoughts around that. But hi, my name is Shubh. I've been leading growth at Valley. We are an AI LinkedIn automation tool. We are used by a bunch of teams like Bolt, Miro, and a bunch of others I cannot name. Um, and Valley basically helps you book more sales calls by sending extremely high quality personalized outreach. Which means if your ICP exists on LinkedIn and you want to book more sales call with them, but the process is extremely manual and it's really expensive to hire SDRs, then Valley can act as a way to scale top 1% LinkedIn outreach. And I've been leading growth for almost over a year right now. I joined in as an intern, by the way. I just sent Zaid the cold email like, hey, Valley needs like a kick-ass intern to bring great outreach to everyone, and eventually ended up leading all of growth. So it's been a pretty interesting story.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been really fun watching kind of the growth over the last year of you guys working together. Definitely has made a huge impact. Uh, I guess starting first, like, what are the different kind of components that make up your growth strategy today? I know content's a big part, but like, what are those different like high level kind of systems you think about?
Interesting question. I'll tell you what's not a part of our current growth system. At least we do not do any paid ads, at least till now, and we don't sponsor any massive events or offline events, stuff like that, right? So for us, the primary mode for getting users, getting customers is content and LinkedIn, to be very specific. So we have taken the approach of, hey, let's first nail one channel, get the most out of it, find a ceiling, so to say, which I think on LinkedIn will take a lot of time to get right, reach. Um, so content on LinkedIn is one. Inbound funnels like newsletters and emails is another big thing that brings us a lot of leads, keeps people in our funnel. And then we book the second most amount of meetings through LinkedIn outreach naturally, right? So content plus great outreach plus exceptional fun emails that keep people top of mind, and it's pretty interesting that a mix of these three have generally been our biggest levers of growth to get Valley where we are in terms of revenue, scale, stuff like that. And I guess we recently implemented like a very nice referral system, so that's been working really well as well. But in terms of, I usually judge things based on how much revenue they bring in and not just
Hmm.
impressions. So I guess LinkedIn outreach, LinkedIn content, emails, and referrals are like the four biggest channels that have worked really well for us.
And of those, is there a weight of which one is the most important in your eyes?
I'd say LinkedIn's content is extremely important, right? And it's pretty funny because I am not a ghostwriter, or I've never worked at a content agency or stuff like that. So when I joined Valley, I essentially had to figure it out, so to say. But that process of figuring it out has been extremely fun because, and that's what I'm going to talk about, right? Which is if you're a company that's extremely lean, right, then you probably have, and you've been hearing this all around, which is LinkedIn is a channel that has a massive arbitrage right now in terms of the amount of reach you have, the amount of impressions you can get versus the
Yeah.
number of people actually posting, which means if you're starting to post on LinkedIn creating content, is it's still extremely early, right? So the thing we want to talk about is, hey, how do you create content that is something your ICP actually cares about, and not something that just gets a lot of likes or gets a lot of impressions, but actually gets people to go to your website, fill out a form, book a demo, and check your product out, right? So I've gotten lucky in terms of building a really great flow, which I don't think anyone else has unlocked yet, at least like in the LinkedIn space. Been
Yeah.
taking a lot of inspiration from creators on Instagram, but it's a pretty interesting flow that worked out in terms of, hey, how do I even start? That question is something that gets answered. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess diving into that, and I'm sure we'll get into that workflow a little bit later in this session. But it's interesting that you didn't necessarily have like a copywriting or writing ghostwriting background. Do you think that benefited you or hindered you in the process?
I guess a little bit of both, right? LinkedIn content usually has had a like LinkedIn as a channel usually has had a like a bad rep for being a little too cringe and people self-promoting a little too much,
Yeah.
which means coming from a different background, it was good because we were able to bring we're trying to bring like a little like air of like fresh air, so to say,
Yeah.
which means we don't want to be holy shit, this company just X and then like start the next post, right? Or cold email is dead, here are 5 points, blah blah. And I that content still works, but founders don't resonate with it, right? Like they feel like they're diluting their personal brand by bringing it to the audience, which means crafting something really authentic that was just normal, people would listen to, actually useful, is
Yeah.
something that was a great point since I did not have prior LinkedIn experience. But yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point of just like creating something real and valuable. The analogy or the test that I give my team is read it out loud. If you sound like an idiot, don't post it. And if you wouldn't say it to someone in an elevator, right, a confined space where it's like you and I talking to each other, you
Yeah,
wouldn't be like,
yeah,
"Hey, been noticing that you're doing this, and because you're a chief marketing officer, I thought you would like it." Just like,
yeah,
pump the brakes, be a human for a second, and a
yeah.
lot of people miss that, which is so shocking to me.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Yeah, so and to be honest, one of the challenges I had was how do you, and for me it was building Zaid's personal brand, right? So when I joined Valley just as an intern, like a little over a year ago, he was at 2,000 followers. As a new founder, you just have a couple launch posts and funding announcements, stuff like that. But you
Yeah.
don't have a clear roadmap of how this will shape up my brand long term. Because this channel is going to be the place where you announce everything. This channel is where you ask people for feedback and everything else. So how do you go about that is extremely important. So
Yeah.
we're like, how do we build something that's actually dependable, uh, and just something that people would not find cringe, essentially. So yeah, and that's
Yeah.
something I talk about, which is like, how do you take the frameworks and structures of the best performing content out there, but do it in a tone that does not make you internally cringe, so to say. But yeah.
Yeah. How much do you prioritize like a new, fresh, good idea and like repeatable systems or repeatable content pieces?
The sad part is repeatable content pieces work really well, right? I have a Notion page in our team's Notion called ERC, which is Evergreen Reusable Content, which is stuff that is not related to personal stories, but just insights that have time and again worked really well, right? Which means uh, which means that you generally need stuff. So stuff that works, that something that worked once, there's a very very high likelihood that it's going to work again.
Yeah.
But our goal here is to, hey, let's try and bring in something fresh, right? Something actually insightful stuff people might actually bookmark, go read later and implement instead of just bookmarking and never looking at it again.
Yeah.
So that's something that's super important.
Okay, so content seems like a crucial part, building an executive brand on LinkedIn. Um, any kind of like high level thoughts of what works really well there that you've seen that maybe someone who's watching this who has never is a founder and has never posted before, or they're a good market leader and wanting to get their founder to post. Is there anything, any like, key posts that would work right away?
Interesting. Before that, if you're a marketer or an agency, and if your CEO or founder or any team leader is a little hesitant on like being consistent on LinkedIn as a channel or posting consistently,
Yeah.
you just need to tell them about the outcome they're missing out on, right?
Mm,
I initially in the early days I had a problem with Zed, which is like, hey, you need to do content approvals on time. You need to look at that copy, approve it, because I want to be consistent in terms of my cadences around posting,
yeah.
and that would sometimes not happen. And then I just did a math, right? It's like, hey, we booked X amount of demos in the last 30 days, and here's how many impressions you got, blah blah. Which means every day you do not post, you're losing out on one customer. Is the math I came up with,
That's
right?
great.
And from that day onwards, he has never missed actually giving his thoughts on content, reviewing it, approving it on his end, because he understands how valuable it is long term.
Yeah.
In terms of what you could post, it's a game of like it's a hit or miss, right? I look at outreach the way I look at content here, which is what's gonna work for you, and we're gonna talk about the flows to actually get like the higher probability to find posts that are a higher probability that they'll work.
Yeah.
But what's gonna work for you, it's gonna be a process of figuring it out. You have to
Yeah.
post 20 times, figure out what's common between your best performing content and figure out what's common between your worst performing content, and just do more of the top 10 percentile and remove the bottom 10 percentile entirely.
Yeah.
But generally do not try to scale the company page. If
Mm,
you're trying to start that entire motion right now, I don't even think you should put a lot of effort into it, at least in the starting 3-5 million ARR, which is focus on updates, focus on case studies. All of those can go on the company page, but you as a founder, you as a founder are the chief storyteller of the company, right? You're the source from which the entire audience is seeing like a story, which means your job is to openly talk about the challenges you're facing, wins you're facing, a bunch of things you're trying to solve for, and be extremely candid.
yeah.
And the great part about a platform like LinkedIn is it's gonna push it to relevant people, right? So even if it gets 4 likes, does not matter, because relevant people will see it, and that matters a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's always a friction point of explaining that. Actually, I'd love to hear the data because I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys have looked into this. At least for us and our clients, it's very rare that someone who actually liked or comment a post ends up booking a meeting, but they will say they've seen the LinkedIn content. They just didn't actually physically interact with it. So it can sometimes be kind of a mixed signal.
Yeah, that's true. To be very honest, if you were to, and we're going to talk about warm outbound, right? So we're going to talk about how to scrape, identify, and fetch people who have been visiting your profile, who have been following you or engaging with your content, and seeing that one to one with people who are actually booking demos. You will probably not see a pattern in the initial days, right? Which
Yeah.
means it's not necessary that someone who booked a call with you is actually out there liking and commenting on your posts. But since they found something useful, they went to your profile and they were like, hey, this seems like something that could be a solution for me. They're gonna out book a sales call, right? A very interesting thing we did here was we use Circle Back to take transcribe our meetings, take notes, stuff like that, right? And we just have an automation setup, which is every time someone from our team concludes a sales call, every salesperson is just had a standard practice of asking, hey, where did you hear about us, right? And that
Yeah.
Slack channel will just send the link of that transcript, and
Mm,
below AI will just write that, hey, Will heard about Valley through X. And that will, in like 70% of our cases, that's usually LinkedIn content. But yeah, so like even if you see people not liking your stuff, you'll find a lot of great people reaching out to you. It's like, hey, this seems interesting. But yeah.
yeah. That's a really fun automation.
Yeah.
Just being able to kind of see the attribution source live in a LinkedIn or in a Slack channel. Um, awesome. Want to dive into it? I think let's see the workflows. I mean, um, I think one of the main reasons that I wanted to have this conversation is so many people are struggling with outbound these days. There's a lot more noise, and AI is sloppy, and people are
Yeah.
seeing that slop left and right. So, how do you get someone to actually respond to a message as an outbound channel? If you can't afford ads, ads are way too expensive, and you need something a little bit more reliable than just waiting on inbound.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys seem to have cracked the code, so I'd love to walk through that system.
Sounds perfect. So I'll probably start with like the flow I've built that becomes our entire content engine, and not only makes LinkedIn posts, but like our emails, everything that keeps people in the funnel, and how do you then convert that into warm outbound, right? It's a the sad part is people generally try to put that in isolation, which is like, hey, this is my outreach department, hey, this is my content department, but right now with all of these tools and signals coming up, it's all a very cohesive motion, right? So that's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, you need to understand that because of this, the value of trying to create content is not just the inbound leads that come in, right? And Will, you would know this more than anyone else, right? Or if you're running a content agency, if someone's in the audience, which is like someone agency comes to you and it's like, hey, in 90 days, your content will probably start booking you 3 to 5 demos every month, and we only look that inbound demos as value, right? But what about all the people who started following you, visiting your profile, got warmed up to what you sell? And imagine your own buying journeys, right? You find something useful, you follow them, you consume something, and you come inside their orbit, which is something we're going to talk about, and then you eventually end up buying 2 months later. So that's the funnel we're going to talk about. But yeah, I have created a quick presentation, pitch deck, whatever, and
Yeah,
we'll
I
start it
think
off.
just walking through the system, like talking about how you guys do it, would be awesome. Let me. There we go. We got you guys up there, and sweet. Uh, go for it.
Perfect. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Perfect. Okay. So we call this Valley's 1.5 million monthly pipeline engine because like that's the amount of pipeline it generates for us. I think that number's a little higher now because like October was a great month for us. We booked way more meetings than ever. We probably booked over 300 meetings,
Hmm.
which is great, right? Because a company our size, without any support from paid marketing stuff like that, it's great to have that much pipeline. The Our A's never have to pick up the phone. They never have to send outreach. I don't think Alex, our founding AE, has like sent out a cold email in months because his calendar is filled 2 weeks in advance, right? And that's the goal. That's the dream, right? So we're gonna try and reach that end state from here. But the problem we're going to try to solve right now, which is how do you get started with how do I identify what is great quality content and then try and create it on my own. And I'm going to show you my actual tools, show you step by step how that goes and stuff like that. Sounds good?
Awesome. Let's do it.
Perfect. So, just a little bit of stuff here. It's all about getting people inside your orbit, right? So I couldn't really get like a great image of Earth here, but this is our data files dashboard, which is whenever someone's on our website, we can see them pop up.
Yeah.
Your entire goal is to get people. If your company was like a planet, your entire goal is to get people inside your gravitational pull or orbit, so to say, right? Because after that you can keep them warm, engage with them, give them value, and they're going to buy sooner or later, right?
Mhm.
That's something that's really important for us to understand. So my goal is to find everyone who is outside this orbit and eventually pull them in, which is like they will make in the purchase later on, but I am trying to play the long term game here, right? uh, and that is something a lot of people ignore, which is like, hey, understanding buyer journey is super important. So I'm assuming everyone here has like a washing machine in their house, right? And everyone needs a washing machine, but you're not actively trying to purchase one, right? Which means if I were to send you a cold email today with like, hey, or cold LinkedIn outreach like, hey, I'm selling a washing machine, do you want to come take a demo, you will not probably be interested. But if I'm like, hey, here are a few ways to clean your clothes without reducing their quality or increasing their lifespan, or just a bunch of hacks around using less water, or making it a lot more affordable, you're probably going to subscribe to my newsletter to receive tips like those. And when eventually your washing machine breaks or you try to upgrade, I'll be the first person on the top of your mind around all things related to that one topic, right? Which means your entire job here is to be that one guy for X, and don't try to be something for a lot of people. Just be the guy for LinkedIn outreach, the guy for email marketing, the guy for performance marketing, stuff like that. And then whenever a buyer actually ends up entering their buying journey, which is like, hey, this is something I think I need to solve for, you're the first person they think of, and that's the entire goal. Right. So here are the tools we use. We use a tool called Phantom Buster, LinkedIn, obviously, Riverside. We are using this Riverside to record this. Whisperflow is something that just makes stuff easier, but it's not really that important. And Claude will is the most important part of this entire thing, right? If you're someone using ChatGPT to write content, I would recommend trying Claude out, because it's generally a much better writer, right? Also a much better coder, but we can talk about that. Any questions up until here, Will?
I was gonna say, if you had to boil it down to two pieces of software, we won't include LinkedIn because like LinkedIn is just where you're posting.
Yeah,
Which
I
would
would.
you? Yeah, which would you keep?
I would only keep Phantom Buster and Claude. Those are the only two important pieces of software here. Everything else is replaceable. That is
Yeah.
something when you have already scaled your motion and just want, you want to make your life easier. But to be very honest, going 0 to 1, you should not think about making your life easy. It should be about finding what works, and that's what we're gonna do,
Yep.
right?
Cool.
So now creating content. Now assume you're either a founder who's trying to start LinkedIn outreach or LinkedIn content themselves, or you're a marketer for a company that needs to build a personal brand for its leaders, CEOs, stuff like that, or you're just a content agency who's trying to start LinkedIn as a channel. What are a few things that need to be true? Three items here. First, the writing style needs to be the same as the person who's actually going to be the face, right? Which means in Zaid's case, his writing style is what I want the entire audience to see. I do not want to change it, because that just keeps things a lot more authentic. We talked about how sometimes these posts can get a little cringe. When you try to keep everything in that person's writing style, you reduce the chances of seeming like cringe a lot more, right? That's number one. Number two is understanding what works with your audience. So if you're someone who uh, if you're someone who sells B2B performance marketing services, right? Or if you're someone who sells graphic design or website design, then you need to understand that there are certain types of posts that just work better with your audience, and we're going to try and find them, right? And then we're going to take an ideal case, which is like a list of creators that you and your founder or like your team admires a lot, right? And I'm quickly going to show you how that works. So step one, just go to LinkedIn and find people whose content you like a lot, right? In my case, it's Cody, which is like he's a great growth marketer. And then it's people like Sam Dunning or Austin Hughes. These people have built like an incredible personal brand, and their content has been performing really well, which means I need to learn from them and understand them. But these people do not operate in my space. Cody talks about cold emails a little bit, but he doesn't really talk about LinkedIn outreach. Sam talks about SEO and B2B SaaS SEO, but he doesn't really talk about outreach that much, right? Which means I need to scrape all of these people and find their best. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first go to a tool called Phantom Buster. Incredible tool. They're sort of competitors in terms of LinkedIn outreach, but we do that part better. But what I what I want you to do is go to Phantom Buster. They have a free plan. You can always pay for it to make things easier, and they have a Phantom called LinkedIn Profile Scraper, right? This Phantom gives you the ability to scrape however many posts you want from a certain profile,
Hmm.
right? So here's what you need to do. First, make a list of 3 to 5 founders whose content and persona you like a lot. So for here in my case, it would be Sam Dunning, uh, Cody Schneider, and probably Austin Hughes, right? These 3 founders.
Yep.
They've done an incredible job at content. We don't really find them cringe, so we're gonna try and get that style. That's step one, number one. Collect their profile links. Step number two is find people who sell to the exact same niche that you sell to, right? So here's an example. If you're in the space of GTM and LinkedIn, then you know Nick is a great person, Nick Abram, who talks about cold outreach. If you're talking about LinkedIn content, then Will is the perfect person whose profile you can scrape slash steal. Uh, we all know the Cold IQ team, right? Which is Mitchell and everyone else. So if you want to, if your audience is GTM, cold outreach, stuff like that. If you're someone who sells performance marketing, then there's Dylan Hay, who runs a performance marketing agency, right? So you want to collect 5 or 10 of these profiles because these people are who your ICP already follows. They engage with their content, they already follow them, which means your content needs to be not exactly similar, but somewhat similar to what they're already doing. And plus, it acts as an insight for you to see what already works, right? So that's step number one. I want you to go to Phantom Buster, click on use now, uh, and then I'm not going to go through this process, but essentially what you need to do is you can either add a CSV or you could just paste those profile links one by one and select the number of posts you want to scrape. I recommend roughly 200 posts per person. Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to go and it's going to pull the last 200 posts of each of those
Yes.
profiles.
Yes, the
Very
latest
cool.
200 posts. Yeah. And it's going to give you a CSV of all of those posts. So you're going to get a CSV of last 300 LinkedIn posts Will made. It's going to give you the content format he posted, actual copy, what media was attached. So if you had attached like a video or a graphic image or anything else, or a link for that matter, you're going to get that as well. And the number of like how much engagement each post got, which means how many people liked it, commented on it, stuff like that, right? Which is extremely important for us. And then I want you to collect all of that and dump it inside one single Google Sheet, which is you have you suppose you did it for 5 people, which means you have 200 LinkedIn posts per creator. You have 1,000 LinkedIn posts inside a CSV with how many impressions and engagement they got, and you just dump it all into a Claude chat and be like, hey, take the top 20% by engagement and impressions and analyze those posts for hooks, templates, topics, formats, what ideas they talk about, and everything else. Which means you want to see that Will's best performing posts, what do they have in common? Sam's best performing posts, what do they have in common? Zed's best performing posts, what do they have in common? And you don't have to sit and manually do it. I do recommend just scrolling through it and understanding it yourself. Uh, but all you need to do is take that CSV, dump it into a Claude project, and give it an instruction of, hey, I want you to analyze all of this and turn it into like a LinkedIn master cheat sheet, which tells me, hey, in your niche for creators that you like, the hooks that work are these 200 hooks work really well. And here's like templates for those. These formats work really well. The format of telling a story or format of telling a proof first, then like step by step action, and then giving a CTA works really well. And you'll get all of that. And now you can start and be like, hey, whatever content I'm going to make, at least in the very start, I'm going to try and not start with a blank page, but put it into one of these templates that Claude gave me, right? Any questions before I show you the actual Claude setup?
Yeah, just to recap, so we've pulled creators that we like their content and creators that are within our same vertical or niche. And
Yeah.
we're putting those, scraping it with Phantom Buster, and then
Mm-hmm.
running a Claude prompt to kind
Yeah.
of break down and dissect what made those effective and what worked. And
Mm-hmm.
this is like a point of inspiration, so like a starting point for us to say, okay, what should I post today or this week?
Yes, yes, exactly. And something great you can do is if you're someone who's like a solo founder who has to do it themselves, or if you have someone in your team, once all of this is created, just give Claude another prompt. It's like, hey, give me a list of 100 questions that I can ask myself or I can answer that will create similar content, right?
Mm.
Which means now you have 100 questions. Every week, every Saturday, just pick 10 of them on your like when you're at the gym or when you're in a call with your growth team or whatever, just answer those out and make it as elaborate as possible, which is like, hey, how would you do XYZ? Just be extremely authentic and give your answer, right? or if those questions could be like, hey, what is something interesting, or what's an interesting story from a sales call that happened last week, or anything, right? And
Yeah,
every week you could just answer 10 of those questions and you'll have a lot of material that could make really high quality posts.
love that.
Perfect. So here's what our Claude project looks like. For us, we've been doing this for a long time, so it's 2025 Valley copywriter. And essentially, there's a few key elements that you need to have, right? First, get a paid plan for Claude. It's $20 a month. But here's a few things. So what I also did was I took all of Zaid's writing, which is all of this past post before I joined, or his emails, or just any long form writing he has ever done, and I dumped that into a separate Claude chat and be like, hey, just analyze his writing style and put it into one pager, so that
Mm,
I can tell Claude whatever you're writing, write it in this exact tone, and you can see that here, which is for Zaid, it's direct and conversational, but a little bit of professional. He likes to be a little casual and authentic. He hates using words like knack, fancy, keen, impressive, and these are words generally AI uses a lot.
yeah,
And you don't need to do any of it. AI will do all of that for you. So that's one, your own writing style. And then this is Claude itself creating like a LinkedIn hook template database, which is like a bunch of LinkedIn hooks and stuff like that. I have all of these files on Google Docs. Happy to share them after this call.
yeah.
Uh,
We'll send those out. We'll make sure they're included in the playbook for everyone.
Yeah, sounds perfect. I have all of those as separate Google Docs, and they're really so. Instead of doing all this process, if you're in a similar niche as us, which is like GTM, outreach, growth for B2B SaaS, you can just use the same ones I did. And
Sweet.
then you can see here, right, which is like high engagement topic clusters. So here's a bunch of high engagement topics. You can see that investor meeting stories and fundraising mistakes are mentioned here, and we know that, like, you can probably remember the last time you saw a post about it because it gets a lot of impressions and engagement.
Yeah,
uh, so yeah. And then just a bunch of these, right, like a bunch of analysis from all those posts. Claude will give you all of that, and you just need to read through it and add it here. And
yeah.
then mhm.
I was just going to say it's shocking to me the amount of people that haven't figured out how to use Claude projects yet, because it is so
uh,
valuable if you feed it, like hooks, content ideas. It looks like you have some like meeting recordings or like the all
Yeah,
hands,
yeah.
presentation. If you set it up properly, it is such an unlock for being able to create high quality content in the future or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's going to search the context of that, and however it responds, it will give you the context of what's in its knowledge base.
100%. And to be honest, it's not just for content. Like, you can, like, and not just for LinkedIn content. This Cloud project has been told that, hey, you're like a LinkedIn content writer or whatever, but you can use it for anything. So first, do not use a single Cloud conversation, right? Because the limits are going to run out really quickly.
Yeah.
I have to create separate ones, which is like ZQ3 content writer, because I can no longer add anything here because the chat limit is over, which
Yeah.
means anything that you're going to use more than once, add it to a project. Do not add it to a conversation,
Yeah.
right? And something else is you can then ask it to do a lot of things. We ask it to review our website copy, or design memes, or we try to build something called the reply oracle, which is like whenever we receive a response to a cold outreach, AI will automatically take all of that and craft a very witty response based on Valley's context and in Zaid's voice. So you can ask it to do all sorts of things, but it makes your process extremely easy, right? Because it's repeatable, it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Now, all you need to do is the 10 questions you answered every week. Just take out your iPhone, record like a voice note, paste that transcript here, and ask Claude to turn it into a post. You will always need like a human layer of review so that you can review things, but it's generally going to be really, really high quality because it's in your exact tone, it's following the best formats, and it's generally optimized well enough that it usually works really well on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And that's how we create our posts. So if you look at and Claude has been instructed to never have more than 3,000 characters, which is LinkedIn's limits. We have also taught it to how to write hooks, so it takes care of all of that, and then it writes a bunch of posts here, right? So it becomes really, really useful. But yeah, That's how we generate content.
That's awesome. Any tips on how to make it not feel sloppy or sound cringy?
Yes. To be honest, be a little rude and add that in terms of the project knowledge. So be like, hey, and it's a process that is probably gonna take you 2 weeks, which is you'll have to optimize things, which is like it's probably gonna talk. It's probably gonna praise your company or yourself a lot, and you don't want to do that. Number one, or it's probably gonna call out your competitors openly, which you probably don't want to do, or it's gonna do all sorts of things. So all you
Yeah.
need to do is either share it inside that same conversation, but I usually recommend keep an open project knowledge, which is like, hey, here's random instructions. So for us, like something I was fed up with is it was not adhering to character limits, right? So I told it, hey, do not ever go beyond 3000 characters, and you can just have an open doc here and add more context. So it's extremely easy to finally find the right style. It will probably take you 30 days to find the right fit
Yeah.
after we have made a bunch of these optimizations. But after that it becomes extremely seamless. It becomes it's like whenever you're walking around or at the gym or anything else and you get like a content idea, all you need to do is record it, get the transcript, paste it on the conversation, and a post is ready, and you can make minor changes, so to say. But yeah.
Love that. Okay, so you do this, you get it dialed in, you've got content going out. We're in a post more than less mindset to get content out there. How are we then using that to, complete the next part of the system?
Sounds correct. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna repurpose that content, right? So just like this call, if you're a growth person working with a CEO and you're building on their personal brand, then you can just use Google Meet or Riverside and actually ask those questions on a call and get their answers and like have it be like a very free flowing conversation and use that transcript. Number one. Number two, now your job starts in terms of repurposing it into multiple formats. So for us, we just put it into a tool called Opus Clips, or Riverside does it itself. It's like it'll automatically cut it into clips, and we can post it across YouTube, Instagram Reels, TikTok if anyone's active there. And the point is not to get a lot of impressions. Like probably our YouTube shorts sometimes get like 100 or 500 views. That's not the point. The point is that YouTube is so well regarded in terms of answer engine optimization and AI search that you didn't have to do any additional effort, and you're still putting out content out, still putting content out there, and it's just helping you rank better when someone talks about your topic, right? That's number one. Number two, convert it into like a blog and optimize it for your keywords and post it on your website. Convert your best performing long format post or the entire conversation into an email, which is like, hey, these are the things we talked about, and here are like the bullet point insights from it, and here's a link if you want to watch the entire thing. And that essentially starts a flywheel of content that people actually want to listen to, which is it has stories, it has
Yeah.
insights, it has actionable steps, and it generally turns out to be like a great thing.
I
So
wanna
quick
I
review
wanna
here.
double
Yeah, yeah.
click. I just want to double click into that to a second because you just shared like such a massive growth hack that I think like we should put a little emphasis on. AEO and GEO is pulling statistically more from YouTube than any other
Exactly.
source. It is scraping the transcript and using that when you ask ChatGPT, what is the best LinkedIn outbound tool? If you have won that on YouTube, you're going to have a higher chance of showing up. And so, with
Exactly.
no additional work, if you just take the Riverside recording, take those clips and the full, interview and publish that on YouTube, not expecting to get thousands of millions of views on YouTube, but you're increasing your chance of showing up in search and or LLM searches uh,
Yeah.
way higher than you would in any other thing, with literally no additional lift. That's so insightful.
It's pretty insane. And like here's proof, right? Here's our YouTube channel, which is said from Valley, 29 subscribers, right? It's all it seems dead, but
Yeah,
we try and post as many clips as possible, and all of these are content interviews, as you can see. Like all of these are is content that Riverside created clips, and we have just posted it here, and we almost get like one user from AI search every week now at Valley.
Yeah.
So the number of people that might come in right now are really low, but the chances of them converting is like six times higher, which means this
Yeah.
one flow is solving a lot of problems for you.
And yeah, not to say that this should be your entire AEO strategy, but if you don't have the resources at their time to fully just, commit to an AEO strategy, this is a great way to increase your reach there in addition to the content you're producing on LinkedIn.
Yes, 100%. So it's not a replacement, but it acts as a huge supplement for what you're already doing, right?
Yeah.
So at Valley, I have never really had time to focus on AEO on the side, or just be a lot more conscious about it. But we
Yeah.
still end up getting a bunch of users. We get like 30, 40 people every week from just search results where we got cited or some of the videos got cited. Actually, Google's AI mode and Perplexity, these are two places where you'll see these videos come out a lot. So it's pretty amazing.
Okay. So we've got content going out. We're getting a lot of viewership. We've got some AEO work going on. What's next? How do we connect it to outbound?
Sounds perfect. Now comes my favorite part, which is the warm outbound side of things. Give me 1 second. Uh, all right. So here's a few key lessons. Like, review your best and worst performing content every single month. Super important, so that you can analyze patterns in terms of what is actually working, what is not. Add your best content to something called an ERC library, which is a fancy word for a Notion page where your best performing content lives. Either your team can reuse it, or you can reuse it by changing the copy and hooks a little bit, or something else. Cycle between top of funnel and bottom of funnel content. So you'll realize your best performing content brings you zero leads, right? Because it's usually not talking about your product, which means whenever you have had a banger post with 500, 1,000 likes or whatever, the next day post something about your product, because all the impressions and followers that you got from the day before, you can now be in front of them and actually show your product, right?
Mhm.
Save winning formats, create your own versions, and update your Claude every quarter, which is new things are always happening in a company. You're fast moving, which means every 3 months, just have a conversation with your founder or whoever's personal brand you're building and be like, hey, what has changed in the company? And just dump that entire transcript inside the Claude project. So you're done here. Okay, now here's the best part, which is turning all of that attention that you have been gathering, which is people searching for you on ChatGPT and stuff like that, people visiting your profile, people who have engaged with your post, followed you on LinkedIn, or viewed your company page, and that happens a lot, right? How do you then convert those people into actual qualified leads, right? So here's a few signals that we're going to talk about. First, once you get this motion up and running, here are the types of people you're going to start accumulating, which is people who visit your profile. If you have LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you will constantly see an inflow of these people. Profile followers, which is if you're a founder or a VP or an investor, you will see a lot of people follow you. Company page followers, which is people are going to start following your company page for updates and stuff. More and more people are going to go to your website. More and more people are going to interact with the demos on your website. We have something called Navatic. Uh, a lot more people will fill the form on your website but never book a demo. So usually for us, it's like 30%, which is if 10 people fill their emails, 3 or 4 of them actually end up booking a call, which means those 6 or 7 are ripe leads that I can follow up with. Post engagement, people who have liked your post, competitors post, something like that. If you're a ghost writer or a content agency, something, then go take Will's content and you will find a bunch of founders there who want great quality content, and then you can reach out. Post engagement and company page visitors, right? LinkedIn gives you all of this data, and for website visitors you can use any free tool like RB2B or whatever, right?
Yeah. And
So
it
that
and
is
it, yeah, it's all the places that people who are interacting with your content are, back to your orb analogy, or like creating the
yeah.
world around you. It's like where people are showing intention, that
Yes.
they're somewhat interested in what Zaid is doing or what Valley is doing. You want to look at all those insights.
Yes, 100%. So these people have now moved from this outer circle to your inner orbit, right? Which means now You can reach out to them, or just nudge them into becoming a customer or whatever. So here's something you need to do. Here it's a 4-step process, right? Which is scrape, qualify, segment, and outreach, right? It has to be in this exact order, which means if you try to switch it up, if you try and send outreach to everyone, it's not going to work. If you
Hmm.
send outreach to everyone who's qualified but don't segment it, it's probably not going to work that well, right?
Hmm.
So your job is to follow all 4 of these, and that's how we have been able to scale our LinkedIn outreach to 130, 140 demos every month, right? So all of these people are somehow identified. You have their LinkedIn profiles. Use any tool that can enrich contact details. So you can use a tool like Visa or Apollo or any other tool in the world. Prospeo is really great. We use Prospeo internally and Visa internally. And enrich contact details, role, and company details, which means you need everything about that person and their company. It's super
Hmm.
important because that's going to help you then qualify that person if they're a right fit or not, right? So here's an example of what that Google Sheet looks like, which is like, hey, this lead with ABC email, this is their job title, company name, website, how much they charge, which is like their average retainers, employees, what they do, blah blah. These are all the details that you're gonna get, and your job is to then qualify these people, right? Which is score and qualify them. So if you're only focused on C-suite executives, then anyone who's a CEO, VP, director becomes like your highest quality fit. Or if someone who's an intern or an entry level employee becomes your lowest quality fit. Or if someone is in the industry you cater to, then great. If they are not, then we can remove them, right? This system can be done. You can do it inside Google Sheets. You can do it inside complex clay tables. I'm going to show you how Valley does it because it's a lot more simpler, but yeah.
Yeah,
Next
I was
step.
gonna set Valley up with that. I was gonna say, if you don't have access to these tools, how do you do this simply? And you get back to step one that you did where you scraped Phantom Buster. You get something similar, right? You can use that CSV. That's kind of what you get from that scrape, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can use that CSV as well, which is you'll get the scraped LinkedIn details of every person, which is like where they work at, the company details, where are they based in, employees, their actual title, which matters a lot because you only want to be reaching out to decision makers, and you
Right.
get all of that inside one CSV, which like makes things super easy.
Awesome.
Perfect. So now you have scored and qualified them based on ICP, and then you segment them based on behavior and intent, right? Not all of these are highest quality fits, which means anyone who's visited your website probably once and didn't look a lot is like a cold lead, right? They've not shown a lot of intent. But if they were on your pricing page for 3 minutes, which a lot of these tools will tell you, that means they are seriously in the buying journey, probably deciding between competitors, and that is the perfect moment you want to reach out to them, right? And that's why this is so powerful, which is like you'll find people who are ready to buy. You don't even need to get them in your orbit and hope they buy 6 months later. These signals tell you that hey, these leads might be ready to buy tomorrow, which means I need to be reaching out to them today, right?
Yeah, I think that's an important metric as well, is like the time between when they're showing intent and when you reach out to them is really important that you keep that as short as possible. Um, and that's what a lot of these tools help you do. But if you wait a couple months, obviously either they've gone a different direction or it's less top of mind or whatever. But if you can do that within hours, minutes, even days is probably still pretty good. But
Yeah.
you definitely want to keep that as low as possible.
Yes, like the sooner it is, the better. Of course, don't be annoying, be extremely respectful, and do all of that, but do not let it go stale. Which is like if you're reaching out 3 months later, they've already made a purchase or they've moved away from that entire project altogether, which
Yeah.
means reaching out to the right person at the right time both becomes extremely extremely important, right? And then you segment them based on the type of behavior they showed, and then last step is sending high quality outreach. This is obviously a no-brainer, which is even if a lead is ripe for purchase but the quality of your outreach sucks and it's really bad, they are not going to buy from you, right? Which means they need to feel like, hey, I feel seen, I feel observed, this guy truly understands what I'm facing, and then they offer to solve this problem for us, right? An interesting example here is they randomly made a post about, hey, we are not doing that great in terms of SEO, and stuff like that. And the next day, we got an email from like an SEO agency that said, hey, Zaid, we think that competitors, like, and it named just our competitors, and they are taking away all that traffic, but you guys deserve to get those leads because you generally are a better tool. So I can help you with SEO. And then we ended up taking a sales call and working with that vendor. So it's pretty amazing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it works. Um, and yeah, so the key lessons here would be you segment them between high, medium, and low. Valley does all of that for you, so I'm going to quickly show you that here. Uh, you don't want to automatically add them to an email list or something if they have not consented to it, right? Which means you want them to actually opt in. You can do that by sending them a checklist, sending them a tool or a guide, and be like, hey, I created this, is this useful for you, right?
Hmm.
In Valley's case, we have just built like like a simple tool using Lovable, which is like calculate your ROI. It's just 5 or 6 questions that just ask you, is Valley even worth it in your case or not, right?
Yeah.
And in that process, we are able to connect, like ask their company details, then identify who that person was and reach out to them, all sorts of things. Uh, and if you're someone who's selling like a low LTV product, like that's extremely transactional, $50, $100, then you can probably just go ahead and sell, right? But if it's something trust based, if you're an agency providing a service, if the client is going to pay you thousands of dollars, you don't want to just go and directly pitch, which is like, hey, I sell this. You want to get them on an audit or build some proof, and that's how you want to go about it. So if you were a Valley customer today, that this is how that would look like. Give me 1 second. So this is my Valley dashboard. Let's see how many meetings I've booked. It'll take some time to load, but okay. Wow, interesting. So in the last 7 days, I've already booked 4 demos from my own account, and I've never seen this prospect. One person from my team manages the LinkedIn accounts of every person in the team, and he has 4 demos booked, and I didn't even know about it. It just runs using my profile, right? Which is a flex. But you go to prospects and you'll see all of these options, and we are coming up with it really soon, which is you'll automatically be able to get all of these people into the platform, automatically enrich all their details, see the qualified leads. So if you click, so these are profile viewers, right? People who have viewed my own profile. And you can see in the last 1 week, 47 were identified, uh, and a few of them are high fits, right? Which is head of growth at AirOps. I know this guy, and CEO at Excelity, also all sorts of people, right? All I need to do is I can just select all the low fits and delete them, and
Hmm.
just send all the high fits to a custom campaign and send them really high quality personalized outreach. And that's the way I can get them into booking a demo with me, which is pretty insane. Which means this lead already knows about me, they have viewed my profile, they know I exist, which means there's some level of trust. Now I just need to send an outreach like, hey, I noticed XYZ, which means this is probably relevant. Can I send a one pager, or can I send a Loom video? And yeah, the results are right here, which is 4 demos booked without me even knowing about it. But that's how
Yeah.
the entire warm outreach motion works.
Which I want to, again, back to what we were saying at the beginning, when
Mm-hmm.
everyone is showing all these diagrams of all the tech stack that you need, of
Yeah.
ways to scrape who visited your profile, a way to scrape who engaged with your content, a way to see who visited your website, a way to enrich those people, a way to score them. That is all
Yeah.
happening, which you quickly brushed over,
Inside
is
one
all
tool.
happening in
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah,
Like, that is
it's pretty
insane.
interesting. Yeah, you'll see those pretty graphics with, hey, here's the tool we use to scrape, which is usually Phantom Buster,
Yeah.
Trigify, whatever. And then we use Clay to enrich all of those, and inside Clay we use a waterfall of Prospeo, find email, all sorts of things. And then we set up like a weighted average formula that gives everything a score, and then that formula decides how much of a fit that lead is. Then you probably have to connect like a OpenAI API key to do some research, add some personalization. Then you need to connect Hey Reach to actually push that message, send it across. And I have never seen anyone actually, like anyone at least mid-market enterprise, like serious companies, they don't even have time for stuff like this because things break, right? You're not
Yeah.
out here. You just want things to seamlessly work inside one tool, which means you want to set it. and forget it not in sense of, hey, I'm trying to maintain the infrastructure at all times. I'm just trying to focus on the highest quality outreach on the right
Yeah.
prospects, and that is where my time should be spent, not
Yeah.
managing API keys, not managing tables, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it should work.
And I mean, look, I love go-to-market engineers, and like I think it's
Yeah,
a very cool space. But the reality is most people don't have the time to become one, or
yeah,
necessarily know, not have the resources to outsource it to, a professional content engineer. What I think is so cool and what we kind of got went over is like you're just consistently showing up on your social platform, LinkedIn, and
hmm,
using the signals of social intent to figure out who you should actually send the message to. So you're not,
yeah,
right? The old playbook was like go, use LinkedIn Sales Nav or go use, some prospecting, some way to get a list
yeah,
and filter there where it's completely a cold audience. You're using content to identify who is kind of warm and then ranking it in Valley
yeah.
based off of what their intent level is to then send really targeted messages. And I think that one little mindset shift is the big unlock here, where as you grow, I'm sure there's always room for cold outreach, but especially when you're starting, you can accomplish a lot just by messaging at the right time with the right message to this you already warm engaged audience. And
Yeah.
it's crazy that not a lot of people do this yet. Like this is
It's
the new hack.
I think so. To be honest, Zaid and I had discussed about it, and I know we're a little above time, so I'll try and wrap it up really quickly. So in the
Yeah.
1950s, there was this cake mix that was introduced, right? And all you had to do was add water, and it's just gonna be turned into a great cake. But people weren't really buying it because it didn't seem like effort, right? Housewives
Yeah.
weren't really buying it, so they just changed it into, hey, you just need to add egg and milk, which is they remove those elements and then just let people add those elements, which is like back in, and it felt like real work, which is why people started buying it. And I say that for early stage companies as well, which is like, you don't have to spend $150,000 on a GTM engineer to set complex setups up, right? You just need one channel that works. And think about it from first principles. Great outreach is sending it to the highest quality person on the best channel
Mm-hmm.
with the highest quality outreach, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, a relevant and personalized message, who showed a signal that they might be fit. And that's
Mm-hmm.
solved, right? Then everything else can change, but these three fundamentals need to remain. But yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And I think the added friction is hilarious, and like we could dive into that all the time of like if
Yeah.
people want to feel like they're participating by adding the egg and the milk.
Yeah.
That's so true in so many ways. But yeah, I think like really relying on those intent signals helps a lot. Um, for those watching and the people still on us live, which we appreciate. We
Thank you.
did
Yeah.
another video with Zaid a few months ago, actually, where he walked us through how to dial in your tone of voice and your messaging. Probably need to have him come on here again in the future and kind of redo that video. But if you're worried or wondering about like what that outreach message should be, how do you show up authentically? How do you not add to the AI outbound slop? We do have a video on that already, but I think it's cool to kind of take a step back and see, all right, how do all these systems work together, and how do you actually use content to identify who you reach out to, um, versus just going in and spray and pray to anyone who might potentially be in your ICP.
100%. And that's what takes you from like 2% reply rates, which half of those are like out of office, not interested, blah, blah, to something with 30-40%. And most of them are like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. The outreach is great. Send me like a one pager. Happy to jump on a call. But yeah.
Yeah, I do have to say, every time I show people my Valley account, and I have for some campaigns, I have 100% acceptance rate on my connection requests, and some of them I have like 60% reply rate, which is just like unheard of in
Unheard
the
of.
the world of outbound. And
Yeah.
I didn't have a background in like outbound before this.
Yeah.
So I just knew how to write good content, and I focus on that because that's, what I'm good at. And I think with, a 30-40 minute session of setting up Valley, I'm able to accomplish these insane response rates because I'm only re-engaging people who've seen my content. Or to your point, the lead magnet thing is a great strategy, calculators, guides. Little plug, we'll have a playbook that will go out after this episode that everyone can download, and you'll probably get an outreach message from us if you fit our ICP criteria. But the whole give value through content, through lead magnets, and then re-engage with them at the right time is just like such a OP strategy right now that people are just overcomplicating it. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, like all you need is LinkedIn. All you need is some time to write, probably not these AI tools if you have all the time. And yeah, you can keep it pretty simple to get yourself great results and then think about all the complications in the world, right? But at least reach somewhere, reach 2, 3, 4 million ARR, and then think about all of those complex automations. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and sales, marketing, whatever it is, like you don't need to go to every channel right away. You should and perfect one channel. And then even when you think you're tapped out of that channel, there's probably more that you can do even before you open that new channel. So if all you have is good LinkedIn content and a way to re-engage the people that are engaging with your content or showing those intent signals that you put up, you can get really, really far with not much else.
100%. Totally agree.
All right. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for joining us today. Any last plug that you want to give or anything coming up that people should be excited about?
Yeah, just be super excited about warm out bunch. So I think after our like we'll do this as like a proper launch soon, but after that there's not going to be any other tool in the market that allows you to run all of that end to end, and Valley is the only place to do that. So if you are someone who has already seen some amount of success with LinkedIn and your ICP exists on LinkedIn, right? And a very simple way to do that is go to Sales Navigator, build your list, and toggle on the option posted within 30 days, which is how many people on LinkedIn have posted among my ICP. If that number is good enough, then book a demo, and you could probably add another 10, 12, 20 demos a month with Valley. That should be pretty normal, but yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on. Always appreciate it. And yeah, we'll do another one in the future. We can do it post launch of that. But this is so valuable, and we'll make sure I'll send out an email to everyone who joined. For those who couldn't join, I'll send the recap video, and we're going to have a detailed playbook that goes step by step how to set up this motion for yourself. And I'll include the link to the last video as well, where we dove into a little bit about like how to set up the best outreach message and crafting your tone of voice and things like that. And yeah, follow along for more content. Thanks, everyone.
Sounds perfect. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Thank you so much, Will.